Number 15. The Sounds of Saturn. The Cassini spacecraft is an unmanned spacecraft that was sent to the orbit of Saturn. Cassini was sent into orbit to study the rings of Saturn, as well as specific makeups of its atmosphere. While orbiting the gaseous planet, the spacecraft managed to pick up this audio recording. It has been named the Sounds of Saturn. The description for this video reads, "The Cassini spacecraft has been detecting intense radio emissions from the planet Saturn. They come from the planet's aurorae, where magnetic field lines thread the polar regions. These signals have been shifted into the range of human hearings and compressed in time. Basically, these sounds did not start out as basic audio recordings, but were measured as radio wavelengths and then translated. These sounds are very eerie, and if you close your eyes and imagine the vast emptiness of space while you listen to this recording, you will probably start to fall asleep or panic." Number 14. The Sounds of Jupiter. Well, on the topic of eerie planetary sounds, there's a very similar sample from Jupiter. The Voyager caught what are known as Jupiter's voices, which are actually a collection of interacting electromagnetic waves. A portion of the description reads, "The complex interactions of charged electromagnetic particles from the solar wind, planetary magnetosphere, etc. create vibration soundscapes. It sounds very interesting, even scary." And that's for sure. While the audio is pretty fascinating to listen to, it's also quite scary, like some sort of limbo before hell or crossover in an episode of The Twilight Zone. Many people claim these sounds actually help them fall asleep because they have a more calming effect, but some see it as more of a feel for an existential crisis. Number 13. Sounds of a Hurricane. In September of 2008, Hurricane Ike touched land and destroyed major parts of Texas and Cuba. Ike was a tropical cyclone with winds reaching speeds of about 145 miles per hour. The hurricane came with enough power to cause about $30 billion in damages in the American coastal region alone. This video was taken from the San Luis Resort in Galveston, Texas. Galveston is an island on the Gulf Coast of Texas, and it was the first to greet Ike before it hit more inward lands such as Houston. In this video, the forceful winds sound more like engines roaring or even elephants. A lot of the noise is also metal parts of the building being manipulated, but either way it had to be terrifying to stand inside a tall standing resort right on the edge of a beach, all while hearing these tremendous winds. According to the description of the video, rescue teams had to later evacuate the upper levels of the resort. Towards the end of the video, you can actually see the rescue teams moving people down towards the second floor. Once on the second floor, the noises are actually a little more intense. They sound similar to a teapot ready to boil over. Number 12. David Parker Ray's Toy Box Tape. David Parker Ray was a serial killer who killed between the 1950s and 1999. He had as many as 60 suspected victims. He was known as the Toy Box Killer, which derived from a soundproof truck trailer that he called his toy box. The toy box was equipped with things to keep his sex slaves alive, such as food and cleaning supplies. It was also stocked full of things used for torture, such as whips, chains, clamps, sex toys, and of course murder weapons. The toy box tape was basically a recorded orientation for his slaves, to let them know they were in there and what he was into. Kind of strange to give a slave a heads up. Maybe Ray was just narcissistic and wanted his slaves to know every detail of what he wanted. The following recording is not the original toy box tape, but is rather the YouTuber The London Caller reading out a transcript he found online.
"Hello there, bitch. Are you comfortable right now? I doubt it. wrists and ankles chained, gagged, probably blindfolded. You are disoriented and scared too, I would imagine. Perfectly normal under the circumstances.
Throughout the tape, Ray mentions that he would drug his victims with a mix of drugs that were meant to induce amnesia.
By the time I get through brainwashing you, you're not going to remember a fucking thing about this little adventure. You won't remember this place, us, or what was happening with you. There won't be any DNA evidence because you'll be bathed.
One woman had remembered her attack as only a nightmare, until she was questioned by the FBI and sent through therapy. He also mentions that he will keep his victims healthy, as they are useless to him if they are sick. He also talks about allowing his dog to rape the women because he likes to watch that. Number 11, the Blob. Many people have fears of the deep blue, never-ending void-like ocean, and when the Blob was shown to the public, that fear only grew. In 1997, the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration was able to record an ultra-low frequency sound from the depths of the ocean. The Blob was recorded in the Pacific Ocean just beneath the tip of Southern America. The system used to capture the sound was an array of recording devices meant to monitor undersea seismicity, ice noise, and marine mammal population and migration, without interfering with any of them. When the Blob was originally discovered, the NOAA thought it was a large marine animal, as it emitted a sound common to large whales or similar animals. However, the Blob was recorded at such a deep point that there should not have been whales or any other previously known marine animals. The general public immediately equated this to a large sea monster. As the years have gone on, research suggests that the Blob more closely resembles the noises emitted by icebergs scraping the ocean floor. Either way, this deep sea sound was the source of nightmares for plenty of ocean-hating people around the world. Number 10, Julia. Yet another eerie and haunting sound from the bottom of the sea. This recording is referred to as Julia. The story behind Julia is not as mysterious as that of the Blob. The sound was recorded by the NOAA in early 1999. The sound was confirmed to have been from an iceberg breaking apart from Antarctica. However, the noise sounds more like a creature than the Blob even did, so it gained a lot of speculation from the general public. Another aspect that makes this short 9-second sound creepy is that it's more clearly from the pits of the ocean than the Blob was. You can clearly tell the recording device is submerged miles into the water, and that surely freaks some people out. Many people that have heard this also compare it to a ghostly-like sound, like some sort of tormented soul stuck beneath the surface of the sea. Sea ghosts are of course a theory that has been played with before in media, but finding sea EVPs has never been done, and the thought of it happening is unsettling. Number 9, Vladimir Komarov. Soviet test pilot, engineer, and cosmonaut Vladimir Komarov is known as the first person to go into space more than once, and the first person to die on a space mission. He was part of the Soyuz 1, which crashed after re-entry to the Earth. After his death, there was a huge controversy about the administration ignoring errors with the spacecraft, and his death taught all space programs around the world a valuable lesson about testing, retesting, and checking for errors or malfunctions early on. This recording caught is between Komarov and the control station down on Earth. The recording is mostly him screaming and cursing his spacecraft and those involved in putting him on it. As if this recording of pure panic and fear, there are two eerie and popular photos of the crash site of the Soyuz and of Vladimir's charred torso. Number 8, Aztec Death Whistle. The Aztecs were a group of certain ethnic people found mostly in the Mesoamerica region from the 14th to the 16th century. They occupied the region which is now known as Central Mexico. This video is actually packed with a variety of Aztec whistles that were reconstructed by Roberto Velasquez, who used original instruments to create the replicas out of curiosity of their sounds. While every whistle in the video has a certain unsettling feel to it, The first one is sure to give you chills. It has been named the death whistle because the shape resembles that of a human skull, and the sound is like a screeching spirit. Velasquez believes that this whistle was used before human sacrifices were performed. Imagine this being the last sound you hear before being cut open in front of thousands of chanting people. The sound of this whistle is scary enough without knowing its purpose. Sound warning if you check out the link, the whistle is quite loud and terrifying. Number 7. The old tape. This recording comes from an interrupted radio broadcast. There have been several shared stories of people explaining that sometimes in 1995, they were listening to the radio when a very disturbing transmission chimed in. It included ghastly breathing and the voice of a woman reading out what sounds like obituaries. This particular recording has never been proven to be the same one as those people spoke of, but either way it's quite fitting for the story, and if it is the original audio, those people are all probably in therapy now. This particular video comes from a 4chan post, where the poster states, "Around 1995, I was about 15. I used to stay up late in my room listening to the radio on a boombox with an integrated tape recorder. I'd dial through the stations, and when I heard something interesting, I'd hit record for a while, then move on. One night I came across this. I don't think this was the beginning of the broadcast, but I caught a lot of it. There are a bunch of names and dates in there.
In 1987, Henrietta Graham, mother Lion in Walt Sound, my friend. March 17, 1988, Edward McGillis, brother of William Jr., May and Peggy, father of Shirley, Abby, and Josephine. April 1988, Ruth Marnani, wife of Barbara, friend of Bob and me. October 1988, Morgan Shoemake, father of Barbara, husband of Elsie, Barbara's dad. August 22nd, 1985, Irene McGillis de Tulio, sister of Millie, Margaret, Dan, Tony, Ida, Dominic, Nair, Scat, Elvira, and Joe, wife of William, mother of Mary Ann, grandmother of Liz and Billy, me. July 4th,
right at the end, an announcer says that the station I was tuned into was WKCR 89.9 New York. I've never run into anything else like this.
You're tuned to WKCR FM New York, 89.9 on your dial. Colombian music is running a little late. It will be starting in a few minutes.
There's a link provided which includes the same audio from the old tape video on YouTube. It's not certain if the posters are the same. Many people think this is fake and fan-made, but others think it's just a good old number station, which has been discussed in previous videos here. Either way, have a listen to this truly ghostly audio, and be sure all of your lights are off. Number 6, the Ghost Song. Randomly uploaded with no context whatsoever, this audio became the buzz of a lot of online discussion. The video is just this ghostly song paired with a photo from Creepy Stories to Tell in the Dark. The audio involves ghostly humming, growls, crackles, scratches, pretty much any and everything you'd imagine hearing in a horror film shot in the most fucked up mental hospital. This ghostly track ended up being a part of a creepypasta written in 2012 entitled The Ghost Song. The short pasta comes as more of a blog entry and states that ever since the writer heard the song, they've had trouble sleeping, they've been paranoid, and they can't get the song out of their head. There are really no words for this collection of creepy sounds, so just have a listen. Again, make sure all of your lights are off and that you're home alone. Well, this song from Beyond the Grave is completely unnerving. It's actually not some EVPs caught from the Paris catacombs or anything like that. It's an actual song created by artist David Byrne. The name of this song is Horses, and there's not much context behind why the song is posed the way it is, but every artist has their reasoning. Number 5, First Human Voice. This video takes us through the process of trying to clean up a 10-second clip of the first human voice to ever be recorded. The clip is a woman singing Au Clair de la Lune, and it was captured via phonograph in 1860. No matter how much this audio gets cleaned up, it seems to stay creepy. The original quality is so bad that you can barely recognize what you're listening to. but as it's touched up, you can make out a woman's voice reaching into your room from the past to sing a folk song to you. Even as her voice becomes more clear and human, it's still very distorted and hard to make out. Plus, the general idea of this being from the 1860s is quite eerie. The singer is long dead, along with anyone else in the room at the time of the recording. This clip, of course, gained a bit of a story on the internet, that if you try to listen to it alone, the spirit of the woman will haunt you. That's of course just the internet doing what it does best to make things even creepier. But it's hard to shake the idea from your head as you hear her melodic voice from over a century ago. Number 4. A castrato. Castrating young boys before puberty was a common practice to create the castrato classical male singers. The high-pitched voices were similar to that of sopranos in women, or a countertenor in men. The difference being that the singers not having to force the higher notes, as they came more naturally due to never reaching full male maturation. The act of castration for this purpose greatly diminished in the late 1800s and was finally made completely illegal in 1903. This recording is said to be the only known audio of a castrato. The performer's name is Alexandro Morci, and he does sound like a small boy or even a young woman. Some speculate that the castration came as a cure for some illness he may have been born with, but it's more likely that he was castrized when his family or choir instructor saw talent in his voice. The story behind castratos is unsettling enough, but something about this particular audio is quite terrifying. Perhaps it's the old distorted quality, or perhaps the sadness portrayed in the song that relates to you the idea of a young boy who had his manhood stolen away from him for the sake of singing. Number 3. Drowning Ghost. The following audio was collected during an investigation of an abandoned mental hospital in Ogden, Utah. Brendan Cook and Barbara McBeath from the Ghost Investigators Society caught this EVP in a room where no one else was present, and there was no water-like facilities or even puddles, yet this EVP clearly sounds like a woman or child drowning. There is some undecipherable dialogue before the splashing sounds become audible. Many ghost enthusiasts online can't seem to determine whether or not this is real, but it's certain nothing like this has ever been caught before. The pair began to speculate about the death of a 9-year-old boy in the facility after they heard this.
How do you interpret that splashing and thrashing?
To me, it sounds like what you're hearing is a kid saying, "Help me, I can't breathe, I couldn't breathe."
A child drowning is what you think?
Yeah. I mean, I can't take it any other way.
Number 2. The Sky Trumpets. Over the past 2 or so years, people have reported and captured these strange sky trumpets, musical horn-like sounds coming from the skies. These sounds have been heard all over the world from Poland to Asia to North America. There's yet to be a solid explanation for these sounds, and every group has their own theory. Religious people believe it's God or the end of the world. Scientists believe it's plate tectonics. And conspiracy theorists think it has something to do with the military. There has been no proof for any of these speculations, however. The trumpet sounds come and go with random reports popping up even as recent as May 2016. Videos can be found all over of the trumpet sounds, and it seems to vary from person to person. Most people report having nightmares or horrible headaches after hearing the trumpets in the sky, and that also has its own set of theories. This video takes a look at a small collection of those lucky enough to get the anomaly on video. However, there are probably dozens more you can find online. Number 1. Operation Wandering Soul. Also known as the US Ghost Recording, these chilling audio clips were popular during the Vietnam War. They served as psychological weapons against the enemy. The US pre-recorded audio of Vietnamese men and women crying out as if they were lost souls. This was to play out on the belief that if someone was not buried in a proper graveyard, their soul would wander through space without peace. This was aimed to make the soldiers less likely to go forward and risk their lives, as they did not want to become lost souls. These recordings would be played over huge speaker systems or outside of American bases. The recordings were apparently very effective and could not be played around the southern Vietnamese forces because they may fall victim to it as well. Thanks for checking out this countdown. Be sure to subscribe as we upload new videos every week. It'd really mean a lot if you join the notification squad by clicking this gear button, checking this box, and then clicking save. See ya.